Yeah, we were gonna start recording before you got your shit figured out, Tibbs.
Yeah, I could hear you guys. I don't know why there's a what you hear. There's a what you hear option.
So you had to figure out what you could hear?
No, it's under microphone. They got 3 of them. One of them is what you hear. Never seen that before. No fucking clue what that is.
Well, you know.
What you hear? What do you mean? They all have. Even Discord has that where you test your own mic. It just feeds your input to your output.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's 3. There's digital in, microphone, and what you hear. I've never heard of what you hear. What the fuck that is.
Well, this is just a fantastic start to the podcast. This is
actually my first question was
couldn't actually plan this better.
This just reminded me of that. Was it the Ali G show? And they're talking about Homo sapiens. He's like, "Yo, bro, I don't care what you do at home, but I isn't like that. Like, we're all homos." No, bro.
Oh man. Yeah. So this is a way end. That's what this podcast is. It's called a way end.
Do we swear on this podcast?
Yeah, of course.
Is your way end like the nether regions?
Well, I'll tell you why, like my rationale for a way end, and then you can tell me.
Because we're far away. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's the terminology of, the supporter or the visiting support section is the away end, and we are basically always away from the teams that we really truly support. So I figured it was kind of clever and kind of cool.
Wait, are you saying you don't truly support TFC?
Fuck, man, I'm like literally.
He's in the away end in Burlington.
If Inter Miami offered an exchange program to like give us your current MLS team's jersey and we'll give you a Messi jersey, I'd probably jump on that fucking bandwagon.
I think you can go.
Honestly, that'd be such good marketing.
Get adopted by home.
I actually want to try and pitch it everything.
You could do that for any Canadian franchise.
You can make your own transfer program. It involves donating your TFC stuff at Value Village and buying an Inter Miami jersey. Transfer complete. You're now an Inter Miami fan.
I think I've watched no, not yet, but like I'm getting close to watching as many minutes of Miami as I have of TFC this year.
Wow. I think you just have to seal the deal, get a pink Messi jersey and go see Barbie, and then you could just be like everybody else.
Let's not get political on this. Let's just stick to football.
I mean,
we don't want to get canceled in their first
don't
episode.
Talk about Trudeau at all.
No.
Barbie was a good movie. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it yet. It was Cheap Day Tuesdays. Maybe next week. Miss my bus.
Yeah, it's worthwhile.
It's pretty nice that they kept with that 50% off on Tuesdays. I think it's 15%.
Honestly, it's not even 50. It's not even worth it's $4 difference. Like, just pay the money and go watch your movie. A normal ticket when we went, I was looking at the other day, was like $17, and then the discount one was like $14.
I have to say that's kind of intense. $17 for like a 2.5 hour thing.
I mean, when we were kids, it wasn't that much cheaper. Like, I remember, with inflation and the way things change over time, it's not unreasonable. I think even there's like some days, I think it was $15, depending on like the general admission. I'm like, that's not a lot for a movie.
I feel like there was like $5 Tuesday nights at one point.
Man, that's the last time I went to a Jays game was Toonie Tuesdays.
Toonie Tuesdays, shit.
Dude, Toonie Tuesdays Blue Jays. It was the only time. I think the last time I literally went, it was Toonie Tuesdays was happening. And I thought to myself when I was there, I would only see a Jays game if it was in fact a Toonie.
Yeah, because I would have to spend all my money on beer and get drunk, so I wouldn't want to spend any more money on tickets.
This was the nosebleeds, like whatever the 500-600 section. So I mean, you could barely see the game,
days,
right?
I remember those days. When I was in school.
You should go for the $1 hot dog days.
I went one time and there was like an RBC.
They still have that.
It's a $1 hot dog days.
Yeah, they had it this season. And I forgot what they said. They like sold 50,000 hot dogs or something.
I'd rather go to Costco and get a $1.50 hot dog.
I did read that some guy got booted out of the Jays game because he was buying everybody hot dogs.
Yeah, that guy's I forgot what his name is, but he's famous for just being weird at Blue Jays games.
I thought you were going to say he's famous for buying hot dogs.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the things. But it was people were buying him hot dogs, and so he had hundreds. Because people kept coming up to him, like, "Oh, hey, you're like this so and so guy," and like he had some kind of notoriety. And people kept saying, "Hey, you want a hot dog?" And he's like, "All right." And he literally had hundreds of hot dogs.
That's kind of weird. Wouldn't you think, hey, this guy already has 20 hot dogs. Maybe I shouldn't give him another one?
Well, it just became a joke at that point.
$12
They're like,
each.
"Oh, I heard about this guy on the radio or this and that. Look at all these hot dogs he has. Let's give him another one. It'll be funny." It's like, can't do anything with it. But it becomes a bigger joke the more he gets.
Lost on me.
This is some great content about a football podcast. So
yeah, so let's just toss the old proverbial pig skin around.
If we have any listeners listening at this point, thanks for sticking around.
Well, now it's about sport ball, not football.
Sport ball, yeah.
Go sports.
Yeah, I call it soccer.
I still need to buy that T-shirt with the baseball guy hitting a home run. It says touchdown underneath.
Oh, you'd piss off so many people if you did that.
Yeah, he's so good.
I've got a list of some notes here of things for us to talk about, and I don't know if we've really fully touched on this yet, but one of the first ones I have is shit talk Tibbs. So I don't know if we should continue that or should we dive back into that a little bit?
It's low hanging
if you're going to do it some good quality shit talking. I'm not here for any half-ass garbage.
Speaking of half-ass garbage, let's introduce Tibbs.
I mean, I've been here for a while.
We never thought it was worthy to introduce you until now.
No, that is half-ass garbage. Get it out of here.
Well, being as we were going to start recording, I mean, we were going to start recording at 11, and then at like 11:04, you're like, "I'll be there in 5 minutes." And then 15 minutes later, you finally showed up.
It's a Tibbs 5.
Those natural penalties. It was pretty cool.
This fucking guy. Like, I was literally just going to start recording without you, and then we'll just be like, when he shows up, he can show up. Because I feel like the way this podcast is going to work out with our clusterfuck of a schedule is that, like, sometimes it'll be like all of us, because like right now Art's not with us, and so I feel like sometimes he'll be with us.
Art is not with us.
Sometimes it'll be like two of us, and sometimes I feel like it'll just be me. But yeah,
cool. Art died. He had a child, so he's just Papa Art now.
Yeah, old man Art.
I remember back in the day, used to have 17 hours to dedicate to a footy podcast.
Yeah, now I got 2 minutes. So I am curious, did either of you like come with like any things you want to talk about, or is that just all on me?
I had some TFC thoughts, but that's a little bit depressing also. I mean, there's a glimmer of hope there.
Okay, I'm gonna get to TFC in a bit. I guess before we get there, I think the big thing that we should probably just talk about it, because that's what everybody's talking about right now, is just Messi in MLS and what we think.
Messi?
Yeah, what's
never heard of him. Is it true that they're not adding the Inter Miami ticket to the TFC season package?
There's a rumor.
I've heard rumors about that, and I wouldn't be surprised.
That'd be a big pile of shit, though. That'd be classic MLS-y.
It'd 100% be classic MLS-y. I wouldn't put it past them. And there would still be some people that would be like, "Oh yeah, MLS, know what they're doing. I'm going to buy my tickets."
I would cancel it, and then I would go to the occasional game, buying it last minute for $10, $15, like random tickets.
I don't think they could do that. I mean, I would hope. I think like at least the supporter sections, anybody, just losing their shit.
Gone, but
are they gone officially? Completely?
Oh yeah, they severed those testicles a while ago.
Wow.
There's like some, like remnants of what used to be them making a new group and stuff, but it's not the same thing. The atmosphere's never been the same. A lot of the a lot of those people were idiots anyway.
But they were loud, and that was the whole reason we had.
So like, there's still the atmosphere is still there, but it's not exactly how it used to be. It's a little more chill. It is great to see Art's friend Omar leading one of those what do they call them, capo stands?
Capos, yeah.
And it's so funny,
The boss
he's
stand.
such a quiet dude, so very reserved. And he's just, not loud. He's just chill, very laid back. And then we see him down there, and he's fucking yelling and screaming for 90 minutes. Like, oh man,
Good for him.
not what you seem face to face.
I don't know how people do that because, I wouldn't want to go to a game and just not watch it the whole time.
They're back
Yeah,
staring
it's
to
more
the pitch
about
the entire time. Yeah.
You're there for the vibe, not the game at that point, which is not for me. It's funny, me and him have had that conversation 3 times.
That's an expensive vibe.
Yeah. Well, it's people, who your friends go, and it's the whole game day is an activity for you. It's the football is secondary at that point. It's more of a social club where football goes on in the background.
I don't know. We have to try extra hard in North America to have even a smidgen of the atmosphere in Europe. So it's you kind of have to have these dedicated, I guess, slivers of the stadium that are just, I'm here to make noise so people feel like I'm actually at a sporting event that has some kind of meaning. Because you still have 80% of the occupants are families with little kids. Sir, can you please sit down?
Vancouver, there's no noise in any sports, though, so that is also different.
I mean, people are into the Canucks. It seems like more people go to the Lions games than they do to Whitecaps games. But also, everybody I've ever talked to, all they bring up is, oh man, do you remember Alphonso Davies? They sold him to Bayern Munich? You know what the owner did? He bought a Ferrari. Oh, cool. They invested none of that money back in the club. No, the asshole bought a Ferrari. What do you expect? It was cool going to seeing, Providence Park in Portland. It was tiny.
Oh, yeah?
Tiny. But those people are pretty hardcore. They were
they were
number 2 fans, right? Number 2 fans. When TFC was in its heyday.
No, I think you're thinking of Seattle.
You gotta be pretty hardcore to pull out a giant chainsaw and cut a log every time you score a goal.
Yeah, they have good fans, but it's not. I think Seattle's the
I mean, Seattle's 5 times the size. Portland it's like Vancouver. It's a tiny little miniature city. Very industrial too. And it was actually cool. So when I saw Away End, that's why I sent that Away Days thing, Justin, because I went to that brewery and I was like, Away Days. I'm something's so familiar about this. Then I went to the pub and the owner was there. He was pouring and he gave me a pint and I was like, Away Days. Now I get it. I was like, it makes so much sense. The guy's laughing. He's like, yeah, right? I was like, yeah, man, Away Days, you're at the pub, so you want a beer. It's it makes so much sense. And they even made these, they had their merch were retro footy shirts that they made.
Oh, that's
cool. It was Fish and Chips FC Away Days.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. It was cool vibe, though. I've never seen so many breweries in such a small place, though. Very interesting.
Sounds like Portland.
Seems like it could be cool, but it's in America, so crime.
You see a unicycle?
Rampant. No unicycles. A lot of apparently it is the Amsterdam of the U.S. in terms of cyclist friendliness. Which I don't even think Amsterdam's even the cyclist capital of the world anymore, but used to be if it's not anymore.
Sorry, are unicycles in Portland a thing? Is that
hipsters ride unicycles. It's not everyone does it. It's a silly thing,
but Portland's slogan is "Keep Portland Weird." So they have all these peculiariums where they just have random weird knickknacks. There was even a story went to that was all taxidermied animals and stuff. Yeah, it was they had these figurines they made, but they all had muskrat skulls as heads. It's very weird. And then there's just a whole bunch of consignment stores, a lot of thrift shops and that kind of stuff, a lot of hip street kind of people, a lot of homelessness. But there, like every major city post-pandemic, a lot of people left. So that was what happened to San Fran, right? It's San Fran had all this issue with homelessness, and then all these people who were making a lot of money, a lot of them in Silicon Valley or in the tech industry, they left. Then they don't pay taxes anymore, so they're losing tax dollars. Now the city can't really solve the problems. They don't have as much funding to go about fixing the problems. And then you have big things like or big companies like Whole Foods that just decide, hey, we've been vandalized and broken into and stole from a bunch of times that we're actually just going to pull Whole Foods from San Francisco entirely. So it's like a downward spiral, which is sad because it's such a beautiful city.
Weird.
Kind of the same thing in Vancouver too. What's it called? JJ? Is it? Yeah, JJ Bean. I always get JJ Bean and LL Bean confused. LL Bean being like, I have this theory that they're brothers. One's like, I really love raincoats, and the other guy's like, I love coffee. Let's just fuck off and do our thing. But JJ Bean in Gastown, which is like the more, I guess, funky neighborhoods, more sought after neighborhoods in Vancouver, they just decided to shut down permanently because their glass has been broken. Their front window been broken like 17 times or something stupid in the last 6 months.
They just got to import more hipsters and it'll solve all the problems. Think of all the
those hipsters try
buy.
crack one time and then they're on East Hastings.
Because they can't find their house, not because they're homeless.
It's because they don't have any income and they're like, oh God, I spent all my money on double dry hopped IPAs.
Should have gone for the single. Fuck.
God damn it. Those cortados really added up. Avocado toasted cortados every day. Those sound delicious, but you got to know your limit, damn it.
That is my favorite part of football, though. Definitely the homeless and hipsters.
Oh, yeah. 100%, right?
Yeah, away days. I mean, away end.
Wait, where the fuck am I right now?
Yeah.
Who are you guys? Speaking of shit. You guys see that deflection?
Which one?
90 minutes plus 11. Good old Arsenal.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God.
That was the shittiest goal I've ever seen in my life, and then they lose on PKs.
I mean, it was on target. It could have even been a goal itself. I was watching it.
I highly doubt it.
No.
That was a vicious deflection. Horrible. But Palmer's goal is actually deadly. Like, how young is that kid? Really he's like 21-year-old. Yeah, that was solid.
And it was embarrassing too because Tierney was like, he's, doesn't really have much of an inroad to the team now that we got I would say even a potentially or defensively better player than Zinchenko on the left, which is Timber. So it's like, oh, now you're the third choice left back potentially if everyone's healthy. He gets some playing time. And he just fucked it so badly. And he even slipped and looked like what is it called? Bambi on ice for a second and completely let that goal happen. Beautiful goal, but it was just, the worst possible scenario for Tierney where it's like kind of missed your man marking him, trying to chase to get back and then slipping and falling over comically while the guy scored a beautiful goal because you're nowhere to be found. That's not a good way to try and get a spot in the team.
You gotta love those goals, especially in a team like City where you have this young kid that gets his break every once in a while and just rips a freaking screamer.
Yeah, no, I think he's their biggest prospect.
I mean, it was Foden. Foden obviously now is a big deal.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been for 2 seasons. He's
whoa!
In the team.
What is this? We have a surprise visitor.
What's the new rule anyway with the stoppage time?
Partners.
Well, what a surprise! Welcome, Art. We didn't think you were going to be able to join us.
Are you out on the street?
No, I'm not. I'm by my PC.
Shh, be quiet.
Yeah, we gotta be quiet though.
Everyone's quiet. A wild Art appears. I'm not gonna waste an ultra ball on you.
That's okay. Yo, Foot Mob still says that America won the Nashville game.
Yeah, the Foot Mob admin just left and he clocked out for the night for sure.
Oh, never mind. It changed finally. Yeah.
In the PKs, they took almost 15 minutes after the game ended to pull it back with VAR and be like, actually, that last penalty didn't count. Let's do it again.
They probably just fell asleep.
Yeah, so in case anybody's confused, we were just talking about Arsenal and Man City, the Community Shield, and now suddenly we're talking about Nashville in the League's Cup.
Now we can talk about Barcelona beating Tottenham 4-2.
Who needs continuity when you can have chaos?
Yeah, just
now. As soon as Art said football, then it's I'm going to scroll through football and the endless amount of freaking leagues and tournaments that I've subscribed to.
Yeah. You do that
I guess actually to wrap up, what's it called? Community Shield. One of the funniest part of that, at least I didn't watch the actual game, but in the highlights was Kai Havertz after all this fucking time being derided as like, oh, he's not a striker. You shouldn't have played a striker at Chelsea. That ruined him. Where does he play in his first like meaningful game for Arsenal as striker because our striker's injured? And to be fair, in the extended highlights, he did pretty well. He actually had like some hold up play. He had 2 chances he should have scored, and like, you know,
I watched the 20-minute highlight. He had one where he turned half decently, but I mean, he shouldn't be the striker. But it is funny that Arteta's like, no, he's going to be a number 8 for sure.
Immediately, oh fuck! Well,
psych.
No one wants your main striker injured before your first competitive
you got
game.
party time and Rice too, which is like, I'd rather play safely if I was Arteta. Also, love how Arteta, any meaningful game, Arteta is like bound to get a yellow.
Well, it's a new rule, and I saw a funny thing on Twitter today where what's this twat's name? Gary Neville explicitly said that he's like, oh, it was because of Arteta's antics and like touchline antics that this new rule is created for this coming season, where managers will get yellows and reds.
I thought it was Klopp
for 10 years. No one said anything in terms of rules being changed. Arteta for 1 year is like, you know, extra, what do you call it? Spicy, vibrant, passionate. And it's like, no, unacceptable. Yeah. Change the rules. We cannot let this happen.
Wait, what team do you support? It's definitely an Arsenal.
No, there's no bias there whatsoever. I think it's just,
spicy, caliente.
They didn't want to have another Pep on the sidelines screaming and giving memes to everybody.
I think honestly, it was the other season though. It was Tuchel and friggin' Klopp, the 2 Germans that were just like, when they're yelling at you, you're like, I know that's just the way Germans talk, but I'm very scared right now.
Do you remember seeing like videos of Klopp back when, like in his Dortmund days, and like his jaw would like unhinge and go to the side?
He looks like he's going to have an aneurysm when he's yelling at the fourth. It's always a fourth official, right? He's in his face, his veins are popping. But you guys, regardless of what team you support, you can't tell me that that's like in literally a constant thing in Arteta's time with Arsenal. Not really his first season; he wasn't super intense because of the half season, but in the 2 full seasons he managed. Constantly it's a story of he's over the top, he's like, you know, too much antics on the sideline.
I don't care about that. I think the rule should be there though. I think
those are like not issues. Like that's,
the rule should stand. I think it's a good idea. I don't care. It's honestly down to the journals, or not the journals, but the actual what's the word I'm looking for? The journalists. Because some have an agenda against certain clubs. Like even like Daily Mail, for instance, they're like super Man U supporting. 100%. You can tell everything they write.
Majority of fucking news outlets, organized, like written and fucking broadcasts, are like massive United supporters in England.
But I think it's a good thing because even if you look at like back at Sir Alex times, like that guy, that's literally. I feel like he got all the success during Fergie time because he intimidated everybody.
Yeah, exactly. He intimidated everybody.
But he was smart. He didn't do it on the pitch. He would see him in the parking lot or like at a, you know, Marks and Sparks or something like that. And be like, hey, you're going to oversee the game on the weekend, right? Well, I wouldn't want you, that beautiful little dog you have, to have an accident.
Just shank him in the grocery store.
Just kicks the shit out of the guy's dog. And he's like, I hope to see 11 minutes if my team's doing well. Or needs an extra goal. I want 11 minutes. If they're up, I want 1.
Well, actually, that leads to a good point. Because
speaking of like 11 minutes and time added on thing, this is something that's actually kind of pissed me off right now. You've got everybody is like behind, like Varane just wrote something yesterday about like being against all this time added on, and then Pep's been like, oh, it's terrible for the players and all that shit. All of my bias aside, what drives me nuts is Klopp's been fucking banging this drum ever since he's been in charge at Liverpool that they're wanting too much of the players. There's too many fucking games on the calendar. There's not enough time for players to rest, and they just keep adding more and more and more. And ever since he's been saying this, people just basically just disregard what say, or just say, oh, Klopp's just whining, blah, blah, blah. Now the second you got Pep saying something and you got a player from United saying something, now suddenly everybody's fucking changing their tune and be like, oh yeah, maybe there is too many fucking games on the calendar. Maybe there is too much for the players, but we're asking of them. Just irritates me.
It's also terrible officiating. Like, I think people really need to pay attention to what happened to Eden Hazard, because like That's a prime example of a player who wasn't protected by the refs in any way. This is also playing way too many games, but think about how many. I think he was the most fouled player for like 3 seasons in a row. And then he just has recurring injuries. Obviously, he ate way too much McDonald's when he went to
I was
Real
going to say,
Madrid.
there's definitely some burger fucking injuries in there.
For sure, but I don't think you can understate the mental impact of having a recurring injury, especially when you're on such form. Like, he was just full of confidence, and then you have a couple things like that happen. Maybe you eat a little too much because he's so used to. Also, you get to that 30 age, and we all know it's a little bit easier to.
I'd say the counter to that is adaptation, right? Because obviously, if you are being kicked out more than others, like, that is problematic. But the best players, you have really two, it's 3 options, like fail, in this case for Hazard, like, going to another league, or kind of having a drastic dip, or you do something like Saka is a good example, where for within Arsenal he was the number 1 by far, kind of most fouled player, and very high in the Premier League as well. I don't know if he was number 1, but his response to that was like, okay, I'm just going to have to get way stronger. And his strength has gone off the charts compared to where he was 3 years ago. Obviously, age is a factor. But the difference is now he's literally blasting people off, like shoulders and whatever, off challenges, where before he would be fouled and kicked, he'd fall over. And now he's able to kind of, turn it into a tussle. And it's, one of those things you have to kind of adapt. We can't have entire leagues changing rules and so on, especially when it's ambiguous.
It's not changing the rules. It's just about enforcing yellows more often. Because sometimes it's like, if a ref decides early on in a game, hey, that was an okay tackle. Now I have to stick with the fact that that caliber of tackle is not going to be a yellow, no matter how many times it happens to whatever player. Maybe if they do it 2-3 times, then it's a yellow. But yeah, once you set that bar. And there's a lot of pressure on refs too. Like, I can appreciate that.
I'm waiting for an AI to come in where they can actually give some advice for consistency and be like, "Hey, ref, 10 minutes ago there was a 74% similar tackle that you did not give a yellow for."
Yeah.
Well, that's when you see the top captains. Like, I remember John Terry used to do that all the time. He'd just go to the ref and be like, "By the way, I don't know if you noticed that, but that just happened there." Or at the halftime, be talking about, hey, you might have missed this, and this, just to plant the seed. Even.
Do you think if anybody's listening to this, they'll have figured out where our allegiances lie at this point?
Yeah. I love Pep Guardiola, greatest manager ever, and CR7 for life.
It's funny because for each of us, I would say that obviously, you can read someone's bias into what they say, but also it comes from what knowledge you have, right? Because if I follow Arsenal, I'll know an example of, for example, Saka beefing up. I'm not going to know, for example, maybe Gallagher did the same thing, but I don't fucking know.
Adama Traore is the first example I think of. He had the same issue. He had shoulder injuries nonstop because people were just pulling his arms, and then he just became a tank of a human.
And yet he claims that he never works out. And then, anyway.
Barely. He definitely spends a lot of his income on baby oil.
Because remember, Lukaku was saying he never touches free weights, like when he was 25 or something. He's like, I never touched free weights. Yeah. I'm just like, God made me like this.
It was, though. When he signed for Chelsea, he was 19. It was like, Jesus, this kid is a beast. Not mentally, though. That's his problem.
Yeah, he was physically, he looked like he was going to be like.
By the way, how fucked up is it? This guy's such a piece of shit, such an idiot. Literally haven't played the Champions League final yet, and this guy's talking to freaking Juve.
Yeah, that's
wow,
pretty snaky.
And it's such an incestuous league too. Like, you can't be doing that shit.
Also, they're broke as fuck. I don't even know why he'd bother.
I mean, they spend all their money on bribing officials, and then they're just figuring it out. So I think they need to spend more money on better people to bribe more effectively. Because this is how many times I've been banned from freaking European competition.
Did you hear Ronaldo say something about how when he before he went to Juventus, they were in a bad place, and then he left them they were in a fantastic place when he left? It's like, dude, what the fuck? What are you smoking?
They were doing all right, I think, his first season. And then he started to ruin the dressing room. And then that's why he left. Everybody's like, well, it's Ronaldo's team now, so that sucks. They've just gone so downhill. The last good thing I can think of Juve doing was somehow signing Andrea Pirlo.
That was actually wild.
Jesus, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, that's the last time I remember them being good.
4 Scudetto in a row when they signed him. And you know what's funny? They signed him on a free because there was a dispute, and Milan wouldn't give him a 3-year contract.
Yeah, it was just Typical
And he's
petty
like, okay,
Italian
well,
behavior.
go fuck yourself. I'll go to Juve and win 4 straight Scudetto in a row.
That
how
kinda
could you do
shit,
that?
man.
The best friggin' Italian midfielder, like arguably ever.
I don't understand when clubs stick by like those self-imposed policies that they create. It's like, no, we have a rule that if you're over this age, we only give 1-year contracts. It's like you don't make
Honestly,
exceptions for one of the greatest fucking midfielders of all time.
I think
You
there's other
fucking
other
clowns.
factors at play, man. Honestly, it's
Well, I think also they didn't expect
apparent.
someone at 31 to be that good. They expected probably him to drop
Alright,
off.
come
a bit
on.
of common sense thing,
It's
right?
Italy. That's your prime in Italy.
The cherry on top of that was, and I saw this recently, that in those, so they won 4 in a row as soon as he did the free transfer. The first 3 in a row, he was player of the season. So it's just like, not only did you can argue, oh, maybe he wasn't that integral to the team. They were gonna win anyway. It's like, no, he was the star 3 years in a row.
I think the only other time, I mean, obviously they had like Zizou, but Zizou and Conte, man. Conte was also a legend at that club. But those are the last time they had like a serious midfielder just dominate. Pirlo was the man, though. I was just thinking about old school. Actually, it was Liverpool, AC Milan, which somehow I think Liverpool won that one, right?
Did
they win?
I can't remember. Have to refresh my memory.
Don't get all bent out of shape, okay, Justin?
What year are we discussing here?
You know damn well what year. That's what I'm asking you.
Yeah, man, we were down 3-0. We were down 1-0 in the first
fucking
minute of the game.
Okay.
I'm not fucking with him. No, I remember that. I remember that game because I remember thinking, there's no way in hell Liverpool are going to get anything out of this game because that AC Milan team was basically the Brazilian team, and they were incredible,
dude. So my experience of that game was I was actually working nights during that time, and I had stayed up when I got home from work to watch that game, and I was exhausted. And then, of course, the Maldini goal goes in. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now?
Legend.
And then 2 from Crespo, and it's like, we're fucked. So at halftime, I fell asleep on the couch at halftime, not intentionally, but it just happened.
Classic fan.
I wake up to Dudek saving a penalty from Shevchenko and the fucking TV exploding. I'm like, what the fuck did I just miss? So luckily enough, I was recording at the time. I had to go back and rewatch the game, and I couldn't believe it. It was unreal. I mean, I still don't know which game like blows me away more, is that game or the 4-0 against Barcelona. Like, I think like the beating Milan was just remarkable. The fact that it was a final and everything come back from 3-0 down. But
oh my god,
the 4-0 against Barcelona, dude, I was in fucking tears at the end of that game. I couldn't control my emotions watching that game.
I had to pull it up though. Listen to this lineup: Dida,
the Milan lineup, yeah,
Cafu, Stam, Nesta, Maldini, Pirlo, Gattuso, Seedorf, Kaká, Shevchenko, Crespo.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
And Ancelotti as the coach too.
We had Jerzy Dudek and fucking Jimmy Traore in our back line.
They had Dudek, Finnan, Carragher, Hipia, Traore, Alonso. Javi Alonso's a legend. Yeah. Garcia, Stevie G, Risa, Kewell, and Baros. Cool. Milan Baros. You almost forgot about Milan Baros.
Because Baros was like he won the Golden Boot at the Euro 2004, right? And that's why we bought him.
Fucking
and then he came to us, and he was basically shit. And then Harry Kewell, again, he was supposed to be this fantastic player, but he was always fucking injured. I think he started in both 2005 and 2007 finals, and came off injured, if I remember correctly, very early on. It was always his hamstrings.
What a team, that AC Milan team, though. Oh my god.
We had no business beating that team, let alone being able to come back from 3-0 down. That's why it's still arguably the greatest fucking Champions League final in history, simply for that reason.
I mean, Liverpool was involved, so it's definitely not.
No, human anatomy to make that save, right?
But to have those guys in their prime, though, like you had Nesta, Cafu, Dida, Maldini, Pirlo, Gattuso, Seedorf, Kaká, Shevchenko, and Crespo all in their prime. Stam too. I mean, that entire team was in their prime. Ridiculous.
Somehow Dudek had Shevchenko's number that day. That one save that he made in extra time, where the ball just like goes straight up over the net when it should have been buried, is like, to this day, like I watch him, like I don't know how the fuck that goes on that direction. It's crazy.
Liverpool keeper Dudek described his second save from Andrei Shevchenko in the 117th minute as the save of my life. No doubt. No doubt. Ridiculous. Yeah, man. I don't know. I was just thinking about. Yeah, there's Art.
Art's contributing mouse clicks right now. That's about.
Oh yeah, I'm busy.
You heard Bayern's trying to buy Kepa now.
Oh really?
Really? He just digging at the bottom of the BPO barrel.
Fuck.
Kepa's just gonna sit there and wag his finger. No.
You can't take me off.
Well, right now I need a keeper.
You lost. Yeah, I can't believe you guys sold Summer while fucking
not having a keeper. Yeah, that's great.
Neuer's still injured.
So Neuer can't kick a ball.
Neuer's going to play till he's 47, though.
Yeah,
so
but he's going to have the same spark he had right before his injury. I don't know.
And then you get rid of Mane and you still can't spend any money.
Yeah, but Mane was garbage. He came to us. He had 1 or 2 good matches and he was done. I don't know.
It's funny because I remember Justin and I were having this conversation. I don't know if it was the year Liverpool won or the year before, and I thought, like, man, you guys are so lucky. You have this like front three that are just unreal with so much production, never injured. Just, you know what I mean? How do you get that? Like, that's ridiculous. And and we're talking about it, and he's like, "Oh, you said." They're going to just collapse. Like it's just waiting to come. Like there's going to be a bunch of injuries, a loss of form, and also just overall, what do you call it? Just burnout from playing so many games and generally not really being subbed. Like all the backups Liverpool bought for 3-4 years have not been great. I mean, Jota and stuff has been okay, but mostly have not been able to replace that front three. And it's funny because that's literally what ended up happening. It was just that conversation was like a year and a half early.
You knew it was
like, oh wow, just a bunch of players.
Look at City's depth, though. Think about having Mahrez on the bench and like barely using him for how many years?
Yeah,
that's sad actually when you think about it.
It's unfortunate how many players go to City that like you kind of know like you're probably going to waste, like you're probably going to win some shit by proxy, but you're wasting some of your best years by playing very little games, which maybe in the long run that's actually a good thing because they're more refreshed and their careers can last a little bit longer. But I mean, if you're a professional footballer, I'm sure like you want to play every single week. You don't want to be like, okay, I'm going to get like a 1 minute fucking appearance at the end of the match and then have to go do 20 minutes of sprints after the game to like get rid of all the energy packs and should have had to eat today to be ready to play.
I think it's like it's ego and also thinking you're going to be like John Stones, which I think is like one of the only players who was at the top of his game was at Everton and he went there, lost, and then now only this past season did he break through. Incredibly so as well. I think they played him in midfield a few times, but maybe it's ego too, right? If you're somebody like Mahrez and you're just at Leicester and you just destroy and win the Premier League, no right winning the Premier League with a team like that. And then you're like, oh, for sure, I'm going to go to City. I'm going to break through the ranks. Oh, it didn't happen this year. Maybe it's going to happen next year. I think you got to keep telling yourself that, but it's sad to see him. I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel. Actually, I think I do know how I feel about this Saudi Arabia thing, but it's sort of a sad state of affairs. Like you're going to go to this league that I almost feel like, and it's probably wrong, and I'll probably come around to it maybe, but I feel like out of principle, I don't even want to watch the league. And you're not going to ever be in the Champions League. At least you go to Italy, it's like, sure, yeah, the caliber is a little bit lower, but you can still play in the Champions League and you're still involved in European football and people will still watch you from time to time, even if it's only when you happen to play like a Premier League match or a Premier League team in a Champions League, like Galatasaray or something like that. Right?
Yeah, Belgium, Turkey, Portugal all have that same, even Netherlands have that same thing behind them, right? Where it's like you're still going to get Champions League, maybe Europa League eyes and interest.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if Saudi Arabia managed to get some special disposition to join UEFA.
Fuck that.
Especially to be part of Champions League.
Like where Qatar is
if
everywhere.
There's money involved.
Yeah, exactly.
You think UEFA is going to say no?
Okay, well then they're going to have to build a man-made island off the coast of France or something like that. New France. Then they'll be in Europe. Got to get accepted to the EU.
Isn't that what Monaco is?
I was about to say they're just going to buy Monaco. They spend enough money there.
They're gonna buy like
they already did
Malta or something.
Well, no, but the thing is that there's already precedent of other countries joining other federations, and they're not geographically part of that federation. So like it's happened before.
Yeah, that would be.
It's happening right
terrible.
now. Art was just saying the Qatar thing in the Gold Cup, right? So they're already doing it.
But I think Qatar, Champions League is a different caliber, though.
Yeah, the Qatar thing is more of just like Qatar was like brought in as a guest part of the competition, were they not? Just for like money and exposure. I don't think they're like
now it's multiple competitions.
But they're not going to be permanently part of it, are they?
I don't
think they're going to always be part of the Gold Cup or anything like that.
I mean, also it's the Gold Cup. I think that, like, there becomes a huge concern when it's like the UEFA Champions League, the greatest competition of club football, has to let non-European. I mean, they can't. Europeans are the most elitist of people in the world. How could you let that happen? It's like the prized possession. Like next, you're going to have Saudi Arabia be allowed to just buy all their players from other countries and then compete in the Euro Cup.
Well, I saw today the CEO of the Premier League was kind of like sort of washing his hands, right? Like, they're entitled to buy players just like anybody else. So the people in charge are softening up to it. So I'm just saying I can see it happen.
You can't stop them buying players for sure, but them being introduced to European specific competitions that's ludicrous. I don't see that.
I don't see that. At least for. Sorry, go ahead.
Tibbs, you can't allow any dead space. You've ruined the entire podcast. Throw it out. Delete.
Well, in the past, what's it called? Qatar I was trying to think if it was the same tournament, but they were originally invited to do Copa America. So it was Australia. And then the year after, or I guess 2 years after, I don't think they actually participated. They withdrew, but like it's multiple years they've been invited to other tournaments. So, it's a thing now.
I think about it wasn't permanent though. It was just like
that was a national thing too, right?
Yeah.
I remember that for Copa. Was it Copa America or Copa Sudamerica?
Qatar was Copa America that they were invited. I think it was 2021 or something. It was when it was in Brazil. Yeah, 2021.
Also, it was called Sudamericana. Copa Sudamericana.
There's different ones.
There's the second most prestige club competition. That's a club competition.
There's a different one. There's a national.
It's hard to keep track of all these like CONCACAF-ish things.
No, all you need is FOTMOB and you're good. You have everything.
You're starting to sound like an American there, Alex.
God damn it. I mean, it's the American ones that I can't keep track of. America's ones.
That's true.
I'll never miss the European competition.
No, there's 20 leagues in England, but it's hard to keep up with everything.
I just want to see St. Lucia play Haiti, guys. That's all I want in my life.
This is actually a great segue to a point I wanted to talk about, which is the Leagues Cup. I'm kind of curious where you guys sit because I know Leagues Cup is getting a shit ton of hate from one side of the spectrum, and then there's a lot of people, where I am, that I think Leagues Cup has been a great thing. So I'm curious, like, where you guys are on this.
Personally, I love it. Seeing Mexican teams is great. More exposure to them. We can compare their teams against ours. They do have double the roster, though. It's insane.
What was the competition? Was it the Champions League, Club Champions League that like TFC was in when we lost? Was it to Tigres or something?
It was just
the CONCACAF Champions League.
Champions League.
Okay.
CCCL.
Is
They're the
Leagues
closest MLS team to winning that.
Oh, it's the third edition.
Seattle won it.
Yeah. Before that.
Yeah.
Goddamn Seattle. Nobody likes
so CONCACAF Champions League is just like UEFA Champions League. It's everybody part of CONCACAF. And then Leagues Cup is just MLS and Liga MX.
Yeah, I'm just reading it right
Liga
now.
MX.
This is the third year they're doing it, right? Founded in 2019, 4 years ago.
League Cup, but this is the first year.
Leagues Cup, it says it was started 4 years ago.
That's got to be something else.
Annual association football competition between clubs from MLS and Liga MX in North America.
But this is the first year we've had it, though.
It says I'm just reading. I mean, Wikipedia lies. It says the third edition.
Who played? Can you
Yeah,
find
let me
fixtures?
find out. Let me find out.
Breaking news, everyone. Because
that's so funny. I'm just curious. I pulled it up. Yeah, it says it was 2019, which there's no way. They in everything we've watched on it, they keep saying this is the inaugural one. So maybe that was some kind of like small thing, and just testing the
maybe it
waters.
didn't matter. Okay,
Competitions.
2019.
Leagues Cup had to have just been been Liga MX before.
Okay, this is what happened. So 2019 is the first year. Cruz Azul won. 2020 was canceled due to COVID, and then 2021 Leon beat Seattle Sounders 3-2, and then obviously 2022 no champion crowned, and then now 2023 is happening. So they like to skip a year.
Well, it looks like what it is most likely, just based on this, is they reformatted it, so
I think
it's
it was
not the
literally
same
a
thing
one-off.
as it is now.
It seemed like it was a one-off game, but I couldn't tell you. This is just Wikipedia I'm reading. Anyway, so this is the first real year. The other years never happened. We're going to ignore them.
It's never happened.
Because in the past, also, it didn't give positions. Like the winner of it didn't get anything. This is the first time it's going to be the what do you call it? Goes towards Champions League berths.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if it's just also like, oh, yo, Messi's joining. He could be a part of it. Let's make it a big deal before it was like one game would happen. Now we need to milk the Messi train. They need to get as many games out of this guy as possible, because who knows when he's just going to say, I'm over it.
Yeah, time for
going
Saudi.
back to Newell's Old Boys or Saudi or whatever. I see him going back to Argentina more than going to Saudi. Anyway, it seems like there's so many different little competitions happening in North America with these clubs that I just can't keep track of sometimes.
So Tibbs, what's your take on Leagues Cup? What do you think about it?
At first, I thought it sounded like a gimmick, but to be honest, seeing it I think is actually a massive win for MLS and MX, or however you pronounce it. Because as TFC fans, I think we all wanted a break from the absolute fucking shit show that is MLSC and TFC. Mm-hmm. So I think in that sense, right, it's great. We took a month off, or more than a month and a half, not having to deal with that trash of like just performance is so bad that it makes us question why we even watch football. And
lose to Atlas.
And honestly, that game we played pretty well. We were unfortunate to lose that, so that actually gave me some hope. Where hey, from that team, and as a segue, two interesting signings, which, to be honestly, are the exact kind of signings I really wanted to see here. Not these fucking bum-ass over-the-hill retirement league $16 million signings of useless Italians, just coasting on their name. People who no one knows who they are. They come here with something to prove and with a moderate salary. So we got a guy from the German second and third division striker, and the South African guy as well, who is quite young and fits that extra designation for under 22. So these are the kind of diamond in the rough potential that we could get, where they are. I would just say it now. I'm going to predict either of them is going to be able to outperform our entire season output from either of our top DPs easily.
Well, yeah, I think. So I forget what the striker's name is that we got from Germany.
Prince Owusu.
Prince, right? Just like obviously doing a little bit of YouTube watching this guy, he already looks more mobile than fucking either Diamande or Sapong combined. And he looks like he can hold a ball really well. He looks like he's really great on the turn. So he'll be good in the box, and also he's got some size to him too. So yeah, I expect some good things from him. And then even Cassius looks like he's got some legs on him. So
yeah, and can play on both wings, can play striker or as a second striker, like a center forward. So it's those two players immediately inject like the exact thing that we've been missing. And going back to Leagues Cup, I think very easily it could have been a joke tournament people didn't take seriously. Like think of Carling Cup or whatever they call it now.
The Carabao. Shout out to Wrexham for knocking out Wigan today.
Huge. Intense.
And sometimes, you see teams there and they just don't give a shit. They'll just throw out a bunch of youngsters, which is like, it's fine, for some teams. But like in terms of actually like bringing eyeballs in and, keeping people engaged that are not like deep fans, it would suck. But it's been the complete opposite. Almost every team has given it everything. They put out good lineups and has actually tried to win. And there's like, today we saw a crazy game, saw some other ones and some Messi magic. It's complete, 1,000% better than I think anyone and even the management expected. And I think people are going to be really excited for the next edition of this tournament. Whereas, until now, probably thought it was just some kind of silly thing.
I totally agree.
Yeah. And we haven't seen a lot of crazy matches in this tournament.
Did you see the Charlotte-Houston match at all? At least the end of it there?
What was that?
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, Houston was winning, and I guess they were dominating the game. And then Charlotte get a late goal to tie it up, and then like a fucking really, really brutal own goal to lose it in like the dying minutes of the game.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah. One of the things that I've seen a lot of talk about on Twitter is people just be like, "Oh, this Leagues Cup is rigged because Messi, everything's just be going his way." He's got a few calls go his way and like some non-calls go his way, but to say that it's rigged with him scoring free kick goals and stuff like that, like,
yeah, that's just straight up people who don't know soccer, though, right?
Yeah,
that's all it comes down to.
What you don't know about football to say that that's rigged. Like, it's so difficult to do what he does. That's why he's like arguably the greatest player in the game. It's been crazy to see. I saw this. I forget if I shared it with you guys in our group chat or not, but I did, yeah. And someone was like, "Why do you watch this shit?" But those morons are like, "It was the 9 minutes of the game, and it goes to penalty kicks, and then Messi gets the penalty kick and then someone's like, it's because like the captains take the penalties, and then and then Messi gets the penalty, and then he scores 9 minutes of the game, and like that's totally
And
and now we just found Messi's breaking news. Messi's now the captain of the MLS league.
He's the captain of the MLS.
It's funny because that's exactly what I thought of when you said, it's rigged because, scored a free kick. It's funny because, if there's ever a thing that a player of like that type of profile can do when they're even 40, yeah, they're not going to run the field and outrun people. Maybe they're not going to out dribble 4, 5, 6 people like they did when they were 25. Well, what can they do on a dead ball set piece? Use their technique that they've honed in for fucking 35 years.
That own goal was horrible, though. Do you see that one? He just curled it in, and that I forget who the player was, but just
who was it? He was a big meme on
smashing
Reddit.
Header.
Oh, that header! Oh man,
oh my god,
that was enough. That's someone people said that were rigged, and I was like, okay, maybe that one.
Yeah, I mean that was just an emphatic.
It was apparently in the 97th
goal.
minute in the Tigres Monterrey game.
Oh, crazy.
97th minute with
LAFC is destroying though.
There's some good footage of the one angle of Messi's goal when he's setting up the free kick. I think he takes like 6 different touches where he grabs the ball and kind of tosses it, and then he kind of looks at the wall and the post, and then kind of moves because like the ref's distracted with like lining up the wall and everything, and he probably moves the ball 3 yards just by keeps looking up and knocking it forward, just to find that spot where he wants it to be, just to get over the wall and get in the right corner. It's it's just those little things that like pros know what to do after a long time.
After
one thing I just wanted to bring
kicks.
back with the League Cup, by the way, because I was really confused with this just based on what we heard and then what we just saw now. The official website for Leagues Cup refers to it as some unprecedented event in global football, which, to be honest, it is. It is kind of like a World Cup style. It says 47 clubs are involved in this, but they also are calling it, this is the inaugural Leagues Cup. So I think they are, from a marketing perspective, probably made a mistake by calling it the exact same thing that existed before in the same way as in US, Mexico, but clearly either the people who organize this are different, or the idea, something behind it is different, because they consider this the inaugural season, even though the exact same name existed in the past.
I think it's one of those things where they're just trying to rewrite history a little bit. Like, that didn't exist before. This
and it's funny because before no one gave a shit, because it was the first one said it was like 4 teams are involved, the other one was like 8 teams and then half pulled out or something. So it's just like, okay, well, I can understand why that was a stop start and wasn't really exciting. This one was just 47 teams off the bat. Immediately, that's way different and much more successful just from the participation side of it.
Well, and that's partly what makes it like so fun is the fact that there are so many teams involved and there's so many games. So, like every single night, it's like there's another game on, there's another game, and like I haven't seen all of them obviously, but like the games that I have seen, like I'm watching so many like neutral games. Like I wouldn't do that. Like I rarely watch like a random Carabao Cup game or
LAFC,
just even some random like
match.
MLS regular season game I wouldn't put on, but because it's Leagues Cup, it's got a bit more like interest to it. So I think it's been great. I think it's been great for like the casual fan and also someone who is probably like more heavily invested in football, especially like in MLS. It's been really nice to see.
Is that a red card?
And also being on Apple TV is big because it's just included for anyone who's already what you call it, an invested fan, because we come with season tickets and stuff like that, right? It's just
was that just the TFC thing, or was that across the league?
That was the league.
I believe it's league wide.
Oh, okay, all right.
Aquino just got a red card last second.
I'd be curious to know. Actually how many subscribers that they've picked up since Messi started.
It's a good question.
The entire world.
Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if it was upwards of like 50 million subscriptions.
Can you pull that up, Jamie?
They had those stats for MLS and Inter. I think it was just Instagram and Twitter, but it was mental. Since the announcement, not even his official starting date. I just read an article that apparently nobody wants Neymar, and he might leave PSG, and he might go to NYCFC.
Nah.
Yeah, there's been talk that he was going to be going.
Apparently, he was offered to Poch, and Poch was like, "No, thanks. No, Barca doesn't want to spend that much money on it. They already had Dembele. You ever think about how much money Dembele cost Barca and did absolutely nothing?
Yeah, he was a brutal investment. So Messi has 482 million followers on Instagram, and he started sharing his just started sharing stuff about like watch on Apple TV. I think like before his first game, and then Tim Cook I know had an interview last week, and he said that like they've already exceeded their projections, like way far exceeded what they expected to get. So
I'm curious because we hit 1 million just before he had joined. I'm very curious to find out when they announce the next, because I don't think they've given out official numbers, but once they do, I'd be really curious to know how much that jump, because it's going to be multipliers. Like it's going to be a multiplier. It's not going to be like, oh, it's 1.2, 1.5. It's going to be a multiple million higher, I think.
Yeah, I believe so as well.
It'll even be higher if they get that Scottish announcer too. That's a
that guy's
magisterial.
Oh, Ray?
I don't know what the hell his name is. He was just the most overly excited about Messi.
Magisterial.
And also keep in mind that 1 million subscriptions apparently doesn't include seasons pass because those are not paid. Like they're not. I don't believe they're counted in the same way.
Yeah, Ray Hudson, that's his name. Sorry.
There's some weird article about like keeper prices. I was just reading an article about Robert Sanchez, and apparently his price tag was like 70 mil before De Zerbi took over, and they just sold him for 25 mil. I find it funny with keepers though in general. Their price tags seem to fluctuate depending on, I guess it's literally just purely demand versus I feel like outfield players. Like, no, here's the player, here's the price.
It's a very specific difference because the market is so much smaller.
Well, how much are Arsenal selling on Raya?
25 plus bonus, so it goes to it's like 28 after.
And is he supposed to be competing for first with Ramsdale, or is he going to be a tandem, or is he the backup?
I imagine he's competing. He's going to try and win minutes.
That's a lot of money to spend on a really good keeper to just be on the bench.
I mean, there were so many ex-players that were saying, I think most famously David James was saying, like issuing a warning to Raya, like Ramsdale is good. You're at the top of your game. He was arguably one of, if not the most performant keepers last season.
Yeah, he was number one on Fantrax, I think, for fantasy.
And you're going to go and potentially sit on the bench because I don't see him ever immediately starting. over Ramsdale. You basically have to wait till Ramsdale's injured or slips
or fucks up or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is it's a strategy you only see at, I think, top clubs, and it's something that Arsenal sometimes have done well and sometimes have done very poorly. It's a hard thing to do, but
I mean, with Champions League, it could work.
Good keepers, right? Like you don't want to have. I mean, some keepers obviously they're good enough and they were able to stay at a high level, but most keepers, like most players, they need someone pushing them to steal their spot in order to make them better. And it's like
that's the argument, though,
Turner there, who was quite, he's okay as a shot stopper, but Turner never had the distribution required to challenge Ramsdale. Now we have Raya, who's arguably one of the best distributors, better than Ramsdale in the Premier League, fighting him for it. And now it's like, okay, who's going to make the first mistake? And you can actually now have a top level competition.
That's the argument, though. It's like, does Raya even want to take that risk? Does it make sense for somebody of his caliber, especially at this point of his career?
Well, I mean, he pushed for the transfer, so I would imagine that he would rather do that than go to another, because he had other options, a few other clubs that made bids and stuff. So he preferred this project. And after speaking to Arteta, decided, like, I'd rather do this than whatever other options he had on the table. Which is pretty impressive too, because he has good options.
Do you think that United have kept the receipt for Onana?
Honestly, a couple of the goals that have been scored are on him already. I just like Arsenal were offered him for free, by the way, or for like $2 million or something a couple years ago. Remember he had the doping ban?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like you can sign him for basically free. You can't play him for 6 months, but like get him off the books now. And Arsenal's like, I'm not convinced. I think it was a season and a half or 2 seasons ago, whatever it was. And I remember thinking, like, man, that seems like a good idea. But for whatever reason, they assessed, scouted, and said, we're not interested. And it's just crazy to see a player go from $0 value. Ajax could not sell him for anything. And now all of a sudden, 50 million pounds or whatever he sold for.
He did play well for Inter. I mean, it would have been a smart financial decision for
He's not a bad
Arsenal,
keeper, but even if
you loaned him out.
That money for that age is fucking crazy.
I mean, if you would have grabbed him, loaned him out for a season, and just sell him, like you'd probably
but that's more business and not like some clubs do operate like that. Arsenal doesn't do business stuff like that. They're very player focused. They're not really financial focused like that of buying an asset just to sell later. It's just in the.
You never do that intentionally, but it could work out that way. And why would you say no to?
Well, I mean, like Dortmund, for example, they do. There's some clubs who really do buy for the sake of like maybe you're not going to integrate in the team immediately or be a huge component of us, but we know we'll resell you later.
Well,
I mean,
when you're not Bayern in the German league,
Tibbs,
you can't really.
Chelsea doesn't understand that strategy. That's not.
Yeah, I tried to get an example, not Chelsea, because I figured it's on the nose to tell him that like Chelsea's a football factory or a loan factory, like which to be fair, they made insane money off of it, but it's also ridiculous. Like it's running it like truly a business with no footballing soul kind of thing. Right?
I mean,
like,
I think it's smart to do both. I think you should be doing both because you can. You first of all, you don't know that there's a diamond in the rough. You got to just grab some rough and hope for the best. Sometimes, most of the time, you should turn a profit because you have very good, for instance, youth facilities. You have good coaches.
I think it's just a frequency.
Like an Andre Santos, for instance, prime example. He may be fantastic. He may fizzle out. He looks very promising, but it's like the whole intent is to grab somebody who's going to be a superstar and integrate in the first team, but sometimes it doesn't work out like that. And sometimes you make terrible decisions because you have this revolving door of managers and you let, the KDB, Salah's, at one point Lukaku's of the club just leave.
And that's what I was going to say. That's the downside of it is because the difference between these two, for example, is the frequency.
That's the consistency of managers.
If you buy more players, you have more chance to make profit and more chance someone, like you'll be overall even out the numbers and make a profit. But like say opposite of that, Arsenal's thing is really it's only people. Like it's very few. There's still gambles. Like Martinelli's a good example, and Marquinhos, right, where it's like low value, but high upside, low risk. But they only got a couple in that time, and instead of having 30 players out on loan, we have like 8 or whatever. So in the end of the day, we don't make as much profit, but the chance that they can actually integrate in the team is much higher. And like
the chances are because you have a manager who knows who they are, though. If you're a manager and you come in and you got 6 months to get a trophy, you don't give a shit about the 30 players that are on loan. You're like, who can I get that will give me a trophy right now?
Yeah, but I think
And
that's
it's an
part of it as well,
afterthought.
right? Like
It's
the
an
high
afterthought.
volume nature involves the manager as well as because the business model comes. It's like that high frequency purchasing and I would call it almost investing in players rather than actually like scouting players in the same sense, right? Because you're not
I
scouting them
think
for
it
your team.
becomes that when
You're
you don't have.
investing in them.
My argument is that it becomes that when you don't have a consistent manager who has a vision, who has an eye on these players, who can do things like, for instance, having like Pochettino for the preseason tournament is huge because you can see players like Ian Maatsen and Andres Santos and Cesare Casade and be like, how are these players? Are they ready? Do they need to be sent out again? And have an eye on them and be in contact with them and have some sort of relationship and actually
the power
be
structure,
able to
right?
assess whether or not that they should be sold or not, versus if you have, Tuchel came in and just like, hey, can you win us the Champions League?
And that's where it comes from.
Burn everyone out.
Is it above the management that is making these decisions? Just for Chelsea for 10 years, it has been kind of, right, where it's like a lot of these purchases for like prospects don't come from the manager, right? They come from higher up. Versus the Arsenal, for the most part, it's like really two-tier with like, Edu Gaspar and like Arteta. But even before that, it was always like limited people. So it does come like where the vision comes from. You're right? Because who's making the decision to buy these players? Right?
It's the whole organization, right? You can't just have it all on the manager because managers too.
Yeah, no, but manager, like, so the two examples would be like, for example, like Arteta and Edu Gaspar. It's like manager plus one, like, direct.
Yeah, you need like versus, a good sporting director.
You just have a board who's just like constantly outsourcing the scouting department to buy people, which is how I see Chelsea, right? Because it doesn't matter who's at Chelsea. The thing for 10 years has been the same. Find a guy who's got like a decent prospect, is not crazy expensive, buy him, loan him out. Doesn't matter what managers.
Well, that's where Bowley fucked up, though. Right? Bowley fired everybody. Fired the physiotherapist, so everybody got injured. Fired Petr Cech, and Petr Cech, it's like, come on, you can't. The guy's a legend, and he knows what he's doing. He knows about football. Why would you get rid of him? He has great relationships with so many clubs and so many players.
He's going to go back to hockey now.
He never gave it up. Good for him, honestly. He's apparently he's pretty damn good too.
I mean, he takes a whole net. So I mean,
it's funny that you have all these changes happen, and you're like, oh, I wonder what happened.
Actually, on that note, what do you think of Maatsen if he gets loaned? Because there's talk of him being loaned to Burnley.
Honestly, I'm actually really, really optimistic about this year. I like Pochettino. I think he's very much a long-term focused manager. I think he's very methodical. I like the way he was testing the team. Ian Maatsen looks fantastic, but is he ready for this caliber? I don't know. But I'm confident that he'd make the right decision for the club and for him as an individual. If he goes,
that probably means Cuckoo Haircut is going to be sold or something's going to happen with him because Chilwell's not going anywhere, but injury prone. Got to have at least two people who can play on the left side. So
I mean, that's the big debate now too about the right side because like Reece James is fantastic, but Malo Gusto's looking real sharp.
Yeah, I forgot you guys bought him. That was a good purchase.
Yeah,
but
he's
I'm really hoping
purchase.
All your fucking League One players end up being frauds because there's like a 70% chance any player that comes from
France. I know. Disasi too. Disasi looks good.
Yeah.
But actually, Badiashile was solid. Actually, probably him and Enzo were probably the two
He's
players.
Just not super fast, which I think is good. Like from an opposing fan's perspective, because if he was fast, that would be.
Man,
he'd be
that's
one
why
of the
I
best
miss Rudy. Rudiger was like one in a million, man. That guy, the tenacity, the speed, the strength, just the mentality.
The closest I've seen to that is Saliba in terms of someone who's got like just a massive physical presence, but also was going to sprint down like the fastest striker on the opposing team.
Honestly, I think he's one of a kind. Rudiger, I don't think I agree. Saliba is quick and he's got the strength, but he doesn't.
General profile.
He doesn't have that fire. Like you see Rudiger, like
Saliba's very.
When he was marking Haaland, oh my god! I'm like, how do you put this guy on the bench? Because Militao is fit now. I'm like, did you see his performance? And it's Ancelotti too. So I'm like, how are you going to tell Carlo he doesn't know what he's doing? You're not going to sit down. Fucking Don Carlo. I miss the days of him being at Chelsea too, like 7-0, 5-1. That was the days of like Maluda and fucking Drogba. Kalou.
I don't miss those days.
Yeah, those days were good for
I
you.
don't miss fucking Drogba scoring every goddamn time he played Arsenal.
Yeah, he had a really French presence, which was really beneficial.
Oh shit, you're still here.
Yeah.
Your icon is bubbling, so I thought you had left instead of having.
I know it's always like that. I don't know why he's just perma loading. He's got one red nut, two black nuts. I don't know why it's loading though. Are you trying to put a video on? Maybe your video's on. You don't actually have a webcam.
What? I'm loading?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead of having a letter.
Do you not see your little box?
Who do we draft? Who do we draft, man? Yo, and Cuckoo, fucking 3 months. That breaks my heart, man.
Oh yeah, that's
I love at the end. Pochettino's like, it has nothing to do with Ed Sheeran ruining this pitch. It has nothing to do with it. Like, how much did Ed Sheeran's manager pay you to say that?
Oh, why was there a concert?
Ed Sheeran broke and Cuckoo.
That's some conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm getting it's out there, man. Aliens are real, and Ed Sheeran murdered.
Ed Sheeran, Man United fan confirmed.
He's like a Luton Town fan or something, isn't he? Or Ipswich or something.
I don't know. I asked him once, but I don't remember what he said.
He said, "Art, just go back to your microphone. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Get these pores away from me.
Make sure I'm not clipping that EQ, bud."
But yeah, does that actually change? I guess fantasy or draft perspectives. I feel like that was a dark horse for maybe round 2.
He's definitely a promising prospect.
I figured I'd probably be able to get him anyway, so I wasn't even thinking about him.
Yeah, I don't know who did that draft picking. I'm gonna blame Justin, but I don't know why you did that to yourself and to me.
I witnessed it, and
honestly,
it was painful.
No, man, I'm telling you that 10th is better than arguably 6th. Definitely better than 7th, 8th, or 9th.
Oh, I'd rather be closer to the end than after 4.
It's a good pick because you get 2 half decent picks in like the early part of the draft.
You could get 2 very good picks.
Well, it's kind of hard because like the first I can pretty much guarantee I could write down who the first 9 players that are going to be drafted.
Can you do that for me? I need fucking help.
Haaland, Salah, Fernandes, Saka,
De Bruyne,
even though he's injured.
I could tell you 9. Just give me about 4 days.
Yeah,
and I'll tell you the top 9.
To get 10, 11 is nice, but then again, you don't draft until 20.
Well, and Justin, just make sure your first and second pick Ederson, and then Allison.
Yeah, make sure I get.
But you got to drop one of them halfway through the season.
Market covered.
Then just to be safe, Ramsdale.
I'm changing my strategy this year. I'm only gonna draft 1 goalkeeper. I know. I normally get 2, but I think it's.
Dude, you don't even have to draft any goalkeepers. You realize that? You know how many goalkeepers there are? There's only 10 players.
Yeah, I wouldn't waste a draft pick unless I was like my last pick.
You could do your last or your second last if you're happy with your team. But really, who cares? Even if you have a shitty keeper. I switched my keeper 17 times in the season.
Well, that's going to take us down a whole other thing that I don't think should be in this podcast, but I really, I'm going to.
Justin sucks at fantasy. Just so everybody knows. I still think he's been last every season.
Oh, fuck off.
The day he was born, maybe a year before.
Having unlimited ad drops is ridiculous. It is so stupid, but.
Okay, listen.
Would it make your strategy better?
Otherwise, that's like saying, listen, dessert should exist, but sugar is not allowed. It's just you can't have those 2 things together. You cannot have free agents and not have unlimited picks and drops.
Hey, I only eat gluten-free, sugar-free
I would say
treats.
if anything, you could make a limit on the weekly amount. You can't make a limit on the season amount. Like that's not, especially when there's double game weeks and stuff. It's just like so far away from practicality. You can't say, there's 100 for the season.
If anything, it's just a pat on the back for involvement that you're actually cycling your team and you're aware of the matchups that are coming. Like if I have a keeper and he's about to play Haaland and he's like, a lower half team, I'm like, I can debate whether or not, hey, is he going to save most of these? And the six conceding is going to be better than the 13 saves he might have. Or do I switch it up and say I want to get Allison because nobody's got him because it's a waste, but he's happening to play
but he's not
a decent team that's going to get shots on him. Or he might get a clean sheet.
I think having those choices is really important in fantasy and what makes it a fun activity. Because if you have a team, you leave it there forever, and you barely make changes, there's no point doing it. We might as well quit now. The whole purpose is that you make adjustments, right?
Look at it from this perspective, though. If you only had X number of ad drops that you could use in that season, it would make your decisions on which players to drop an ad be more important than just like, oh yeah, he's going to get scored on too much.
You know what the important part is the fact that when you drop a player, he can be picked up by somebody else. That's the limiting factor.
That's Art's strategy, is to drop his best players because he thinks no one's going to pick them up.
Yeah, then you can pick them up. But that's the whole point. If you limiting it is silly because you're just going to prevent people from doing it.
Yeah, I was going to say
that's it's an integral part of the game.
Yeah, the outcome of that will always go to the least resistance thing, right? Which is you're saying, it'll make
you until the end of time.
Okay, no, but I can lost all of your chips last time.
If I want to steel man your argument about it's going to make people more conscious of the choices they make, even then it would have to be in a weekly limited format, right? Because as human beings, we can't even conceptualize what does 100 ad drops look like over the point of the full point of the season. Can you tell me right now how many do you think you did last season? Right?
Me?
Yeah, I'm just as off the top of your head, right? Because let's say, for example, you're going to say
probably 10.
In the entire season, you only add or drop 10 players.
Yes.
That's literally why you're last place.
Oh, well.
It's a DNF.
From that sense, I can understand why you think there's too many. If that's what you're doing, but and I would say on the other hand, yeah, if someone is adding and dropping 7-8 players in a game week, okay, maybe we put a cap on it and say it's 3, right? Maybe it's 3 per week or something like that. I could understand that and say, hey, that's a middle ground where we're trying to maybe.
It doesn't have to change an entire forward section or mid section, just to move it around.
And that way people can't drop half their team for a game week, double game week. Right?
I really think that this fantasy chat should be a conversation for another time that's not on this podcast.
It's already started. It's too late. It's too late.
No, it's kind of...
He'll delete
I'm not fucking editing any of this. No, I'm not going back to cut out what stupid things you guys say. Or what stupid things I say.
You got to give me that really sexy glimmer filter, though. Give me a little bit of reverb, just for me. Just for me.
I am going to say I'm very disappointed in all three of you that I don't get to see your stupid faces while we do this, because I think
funny? I had my camera.
We're not going to record it and show video. I think it would just make the conversation, because there's facial cues and shit when you're talking with people.
I can use my laptop next time. I'm on my PC because usually when we do stuff, it's gaming related, and I don't have a webcam.
I was embarrassed because I have this fucking AstroTurf shit sitting here, and I have all this stuff from my backyard that I'm redoing.
Oh no!
Tibbs is a hoarder. Should we have a whole episode on Tibbs hoarder?
Do you see that there's a fridge in the back of my room down here?
I was going to point it out.
That's our second fridge where we keep stuff.
The meat
is actually it's where we keep all the beer that I can't drink.
Canadian.
Yeah, Bud Light. I think I'm the only person on planet Earth right now that has Bud Light in their possession.
I'm sure there's people in the Bible Belt.
Bought it to destroy it.
Right next to their bush.
Again, let's not get political on this.
Geopolitical.
Can we just real quick, we kind of glossed over it for a second, but I want to kind of go into the Kane thing a little bit. I'm curious to see what everybody's perspective is on that.
I don't like people with speech impediments.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
He missed a good opportunity. That's all I'm saying.
Can that, you know what? I'm going to edit one thing. That's going to be the lead into the fucking episode, is just you going, I don't like people with speech impediments. Cue the theme music and we go.
Can you post it with his actual full name, his phone number, his address?
Let me pre-dox him for you guys.
Fucking geolocation of his house and everything.
I don't know why Art would make such a unusual statement.
Yeah, that was quite rude.
Your voice is quite distinctive in this group. Tipolitis. You've been outed. Now everybody knows.
If you were Kane, would you not be
hiring a speech
furious,
therapist?
Right? Oh, for fuck's sakes, Tibbs.
I would have left 2 seasons ago if I was
much money.
You play Red Dead and you're constantly fucking shooting me. It's like, stay focused for fucking 5 seconds.
I mean, you think with that much money, you would spend some time and energy on that.
Yeah, we get it. Yes, we agree. Yeah.
He's seen the King's speech at least 7 times.
It's on repeat.
Okay, so if we ever get to the point that we can have guests, we can definitely write Harry Kane off our list.
Listen, we wouldn't understand him anyway, so what's the point?
Fuck's sakes.
Yeah. Oh my god! I just think about that one where there's a video with him with some school children, and he's talking about y'all good, y'all good, y'all okay.
Yeah, that was good. Has anybody watched the Hot Ones episode with him?
Oh, is it the Wings show?
Yeah, I want to watch it.
That would be worth a watch. Actually, I'd want to see him trying to talk English.
Did they have subtitles at least? Isn't it? Have you ever watched a documentary where they just subtitle one particular person?
Oh, too many times. And you're like, really? You think his accent's that bad?
It's like they're all speaking English. This one guy, they're just like, yo, dude, I was just watching the tape. I think we really need to subtitle Hans.
John Smith could not understand what he was saying, so he put the subtitles on him.
Yeah. Dude's got a Victorian accent.
So, sorry, you were saying something about football, I think.
Yeah. Before we started degrading a bunch of people, would you not be pissed off if you were Kane at this point? Like, you've given so many good years of your footballing career to a team that's never going to go anywhere. Like, you peaked. You peaked 4 years ago, and you didn't capitalize, and then you fired the best fucking manager your team's ever had. And now you won't. Now this guy that's been a fucking amazing servant to the club, you're not going to sell. You're not going to let him go to a club where he will probably win actual things.
I think you answered your own question, right? Because if he was, kind of self-respecting, and if he did have the not necessarily capacity, but the predilection to get frustrated at stuff like this, he would have gotten frustrated 4 years ago and put a transfer request, or at least pushed internally to like, hey, listen, I'll give you another year, or I'll give you another 2 years. The fact that this can go on for this long. And the same question is brought up literally year after year about, well, he's not going to win trophies. What's he doing there? I don't think it's necessarily ambition, but clearly he's okay with it to some extent.
I mean, I don't think he's obviously not that ambitious, but also I just think he's maybe too nice of a guy and too loyal. And he sees too many little kids saying, please don't leave, Harry. Please.
Harry.
I want some more.
Please stay.
Yeah, I'm worried it's a loyalty thing too. But I feel like he's got to be at somewhere deep down inside at least disappointed that they're not letting this happen.
I also think if he goes to Germany, he'd be like, I wouldn't be able to order anything because people can barely understand me in my own country.
I feel like it would be if Art was a star player at a club and he really did want to go, but they're not being cooperative. He'd be like, okay, I guess I'll stay here forever then.
Yeah, you know what? That's actually a very good point.
We should take a shit on Art.
It's a positive phrase. It's not necessarily negative.
But anybody that doesn't know Art will be like, what? I don't get it. What?
Yeah. I mean
are you talking about?
It's fine, guys. It's fine. It's fine. Guys. I don't need to win that shiny thing. Everybody seems to be really excited to hold.
Yeah. Competition's down.
I'm okay with this participation ribbon collection.
You're really going into that. What do you call it? That bit for Harry Kane not being able to talk, right? Like,
it's just really
going overly. I got. You know what? I'm a method actor. I got too deep.
You're going full method right now.
Full method.
Can we do a whole episode where we all do our best Harry Kane impression for the entire run?
Man, I need to do some research. I got to watch a lot of tape.
It means you have to
just watch a few episodes. Just watch Hot Ones a couple times.
I'd have to find the right kind of object to shove in my mouth to be able to make that sound that he makes. So,
I have something in mind.
I don't think a cocktail shrimp is going to cut it.
We've just popped over PG-13.
You talking about tacos?
hot
Yeah,
ones.
definitely taco. Yeah, big taco. Yeah. Okay. I think lastly here, let's just quickly go over our predictions for the Premier League. Do like your top 4, top 5.
Once we stop recording, can we do the predictions for the fantasy league as well?
Yeah, we can do that for sure.
Hells yeah.
Relegation, Liverpool.
I was going to say Justin.
Hey, you guys can just be assholes all you want. It's fine. I'm used to it at this point.
Listen, if any of this jabbing can make you do more than 10 transactions a season in Fantrax, it'll be a good result.
You just wait and see. I'm gonna be fucking ad dropping like a machine, and then you're gonna be like, God damn it, we gotta limit these ad drops.
You gotta get those Fantrax frequent flyer miles.
So relegation. Do you think Luton's gonna go back down?
I honestly don't know enough about them.
Yeah,
me neither. What about Sheffield United?
It's always safe to say yo-yo.
Yeah. I'd love to see Everton continue to just capitulate and do the final drop. That'd be nice this year, but who knows?
So we're going to do top 4, bottom 4, or top 6, bottom 3, something like that.
Yeah, let's do top 6. Who cares about the bottom? Who's going to give a shit anyways when they go down?
Somebody.
Art, kick us off. Who do you think your top 6 is? For
top 6? Ooh, Chelsea I think is 6th. Then I think it'll be... I don't know. I'm feeling a little Arsenal in the top 5 for sure.
Wild.
I'm surprised it started on the bottom instead of the top.
And then Liverpool, number 3.
You're at 4.
I don't know who number 4 is yet.
Smoke another one. It's legal in Canada, guys.
And number 2.
He's going in the order that he wants to go in. If he wants to come back to number 4 later on, he totally can.
Yeah, I'm going to skip number 4 because I don't know who the number 4 is going to be. I don't know enough about the
okay, wait, Chelsea, Arsenal,
past Man United.
Okay, so Chelsea, Arsenal, skip a spot, Liverpool. You got 2 left.
3 left. I mean, he's got to go back for the skip.
Well, we'll deal with that later.
Let's help him out. Do you think Newcastle's going to do well? Do you think Man City's going to win? Do you think Man United is going to get in the top 3?
Sorry, you're talking with me still. Okay. I
was reminding you of the options.
Yeah, I think City's still going to be number 1. I mean, I don't know. It's between them and Arsenal. I think they're either going to be shit or they're going to be second place.
First or 5th, either.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? That feels like Liverpool is 1st or 5th. So
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
You never know.
Tibbs, what's your take? And would you want to go from 6 up and skip a few, or do you want to just start at first and work your way down
and change things or shake things up? I'm going to say City's probably going to win again because I mean that they do feel a little inevitable. I'd love to see them explode, but most likely I'd probably see them winning. I do see Arsenal coming second again, and then I think 3rd to 6th actually is a little bit tricky. 3rd, honestly, I think it's going to be a repeat of last year. We might actually just see Newcastle. And Man U fighting for these spots. So I'm going to just say Newcastle is 3rd, Man United 4th, Liverpool 5th, Spurs 6th, Chelsea not in the top 6.
Spurs.
You fucking put Spurs. You want that?
I mean, Chelsea and Spurs I think are a little interchangeable, but I don't know. Chelsea I think they still have that stink on them. You don't think
Poch is gonna fix them enough to be more competitive?
He's a pretty bad manager. I think he was lucky to get to a Champions League final with the peak of several really good players playing incredibly with each other. Did shit at PSG, at a team that you literally could set on autopilot.
Who does well at PSG?
Yeah, I think PSG is a bad.
Tommy Tukes is a solid manager and he did shit at PSG. PSG is just rotten.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just saying it didn't, maybe he didn't set anything, fire in the Champions League there, but
said that
he didn't come out well.
A bad manager.
I don't think he's great. I don't think he's a bad manager. I just don't think he's going to come in and just immediately turn things around and get
Jamie, want to roll a tape there where Tibbs just called Pochettino a bad manager and then 3 seconds later said, "I don't think he's a bad manager."
Yeah, I'm saying that he's not good enough to make Chelsea overcome the shit cheesecake that they've been eating for a year.
Okay.
Shit cheesecake. That's an
And actually,
interesting one.
I do want to add relegation real quick because I do think a surprise relegation I think we're going to see is Wolverhampton because they're in
I don't think that's that much of a surprise, but
weird.
yeah.
I mean, they were fighting for last year, but traditionally, the last I don't know how many years they've been in now, they haven't really been fighting that closely. And losing their manager started the season, losing Jimenez, who I guess he is kind of broken, but I feel like they're not going to. I don't think they're going to make it unless there's some drastic changes there. Who knows who the fuck they're going to assign manager by the time the season starts. But I see them, Luton, and probably Sheffield all going down.
Who do you think is going to stay between Burnley and Forest?
I think Forest will do better than Burnley.
Yeah, I think Forest will do better, but I think Burnley are going to stay up above the 3 promoted clubs.
Me too.
It'll be close, probably, right? But I think they'll do it.
Alex, what's your take?
I'm not sure. I think my top 3 is probably the same. I think I'd say City, Arsenal, Newcastle. I love Tonali, and I'm sad that he went there. But I think he's going to kick ass.
Yeah.
4th, I'm not sure. I don't think it's going to be Man U. They spend so much money, but I just feel like, I don't know, man. Even Højlund, too. I'm just like, I hope that all just explodes in their face. They probably will squeeze 4th, so maybe safely I'll put 4th there. But I do think it's probably going to be Liverpool, Chelsea after that. I don't think Tottenham's going to pull it together. And I'd like to think, it sucks that Nkunku's injured, but I think Jackson looks like he doesn't care. He's avoided number 9. Seems like he's going to try more young players. You can't get worse than Graham Potter. And Super Frank, as much as I love him. So I'm gonna stick with that. I think that's probably safe. I do think Newcastle is solid, and they're only getting better players. And honestly, Isak
and they don't have any expectation,
solid,
right? Which is huge. Like Chelsea's expected to be a winner or a top 3. Newcastle, there is.
I think
pressure.
that's why Poch is going to do decently at Chelsea. I think that they don't really expect even top 4. I think they just expect some kind of consistency and.
Sorry, I meant traditional.
Some kind of respect.
Like normally, like Man U, Chelsea, even like Tottenham, they're expected to do well. Newcastle, everything's a bonus for them, really, right? And then they're doing pretty
honestly,
well with it. So.
The biggest win for Newcastle too is keeping all of their players. They didn't lose any top talent.
Yeah.
Well, they lost Sam Maxim, didn't they?
Yeah.
They didn't need him. Honestly,
it is wild to see the transformation of that team, where he was the only bright spot, like maybe 3 seasons ago. Literally the only positive thing about that team, and now you look and be like, they're not really that much weaker without him because he wasn't.
It's crazy though. They even like shoved Joe Linton onto the side into the wing, and it was like deadly. Like between Guimaraes, Tonali, and Almiron, it's been shining bright for them. Honestly, and Isak, like near the end of the season, has just been so good. They have a great team. They have a great future.
Huge choices for fantasy,
but also a lot of young players. Like all these players are like, I think
Gordon
probably all below 27, if not 28. Gordon as well, yeah. They have and I can't remember who else they brought in, but I mean, Tonali is a massive signing.
Yeah, that's a coup.
That is a great player. Like, he is a fantastic player. I'm saying that even removing my Italian bias. He is a great player. He's young. He's 23, I think.
The only question is if you can acclimatize to the Premier League, because just like Liga, like when players come in,
but he's a very strong player.
Yeah,
like he's physically strong, and I think that's the difference between most Italian players that come over to England.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see his
tempo also, right? If they can adjust, but to be fair to him, he is a high tempo player. Where in Italy things are kind of slow, but he just has such a good work rate. He's always running, and he does have that high tempo. So I think if there was an Italian center mid who's going to come in and be combative in the Premier League, Tonali probably fits the bill.
I was
unfortunate for us because we're not Newcastle fans.
Yeah. No, I was so sad to see him sign for any other team than Chelsea, obviously. And it's sad to see him even because AC was his boyhood club, and I don't think he really wanted to go.
Yeah, he's super sad. I'm going to take City first. My number 2 I think is going to be either Arsenal or Liverpool, depending which Liverpool can show up this year. If we have our shit together, I think we can get second. But if being as we only have 22 players in our entire squad, and it doesn't look like we're going to make the signings that we were promised, I got a feeling it's going to be another bad season. So yeah, it'll be one of those two for second, and then I think Newcastle third. I think it'll be United in fourth, and then if Liverpool doesn't get second, I think they'll be fifth, and then Chelsea I think will be in sixth.
So just to wrap up, the three of us have literally the same
exact same one
choice, except I did Spurs and you guys did Chelsea, which to be honest, I think it's either or. I don't think it's necessarily the right answer is Spurs there, but that's pretty funny that they're basically the exact same.
I wouldn't even be surprised if somehow Newcastle's pipped second from Arsenal, to be honest.
True. Yeah, it very, very well could happen as well, yeah.
I think the biggest difference between them is
consistent.
Is the depth for Arsenal, which was funny enough. It goes up 3 tiers, right? Like Arsenal have a really good team and they have some decent depth last season. We've added to that this season. Not the same as Man City. So there's a gap there, and then there's that same gap exists, I think, between Newcastle. If you look past their first team and a couple subs, they do not have the depth. If they have 1 or 2 bad injuries the way Arsenal did last year, they're not going to be able to keep up.
It's going to be so hard to fight City. City has to literally just have like so many injuries because they're so deep, and Pep has just got them so well oiled that they know exactly what to do every single game, week in, week out. But Newcastle Arsenal is like, I think Arsenal probably will get second just because they invested in players like Rice. If he turns out, I think Kai is a whatever moot point for me. I think he could do well, he could not do well. I don't really think he really sways my opinion about how they're going to play in any way, to be honest.
Timber and Rice is really what
Timber's good too, yeah. Well, and especially consider Zinchenko's like injured a lot.
Like they were there last season and they've only like strengthened this year. So I think.
But also City had a bit of a slip early on though. And that's the only reason that even Arsenal got a foothold. Because after that, it was literally they're both just winning consistently.
Yeah, they Arsenal had like 100% record for that huge patch in the end of the year, which is like what the fuck do you compete with that where they don't lose a single point game after game after game. It's just
Yep, it's fucking annoying.
It's gonna be a good one.
I mean, honestly, you can't really knock it. They do play good football as much as you hate them.
Yeah, $1 billion will buy you some good football.
Hell, I mean, better than parking the bus.
With that, I think we're almost approaching. Like, I think we're at least an hour and a half at this point. So,
1:36.
Probably a good time to call it for the first of hopefully many episodes of Away End.
Nice.
I guess this is bye then. So
toodaloo, benches.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace.